everywhere.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to the David Lynch Project, where I'm going to be covering every single David Lynch film that I have yet to review in memory of David Lynch's very recent passing. In this series, I have already covered his first film, Eraserhead, link in the eye in the right-hand corner. Please go check that out. But for right now, let's get into probably David Lynch's most successful film in terms of acclaim, and my favorite of his, at least for now, The Elephant Man. This film is loosely based on the life of Joseph Merrick, and it tells a story of, in this movie anyway, a man named John Merrick, played by John Hurt, who looks like this. Yeah, it just makes me cringe just looking at it. John Merrick has looked like that his entire life, and for all intents and purposes, he is referred to as a freak of nature that no one really respects. However, a doctor named Frederick Treves, played by Anthony Hopkins, takes John into his medical practice and gives him as humane a treatment as John Merrick has ever received. And the movie chronicles Treves trying to give something to John Merrick that he has never had: decency. Of Lynch's films, this is the one that I have seen the most outside of Dune. And I remember seeing this for the first time, and I never posted any of it on YouTube, but I did it on the side. I watched every film I could from the year 1980. I just really felt like it. And The Elephant Man, I went in totally blind, except for the most famous scene, and I really liked it. I think it's my favorite of Lynch's films, and I haven't seen the rest of them yet, but for now it is my favorite. Probably the most famous fact about this movie is that it was produced quietly by Mel Brooks.
The sheriff is near!
Yes, that Mel Brooks. The script got into his hands through a mutual friend of his named Joseph Sanger, who worked as an assistant director with Brooks on his film High Anxiety. And Sanger and Lynch were friends, and so in turn, Sanger got a hold of the Elephant Man script, gave it to Brooks, and Brooks liked it so much that he decided to bankroll it. However, like I said, quietly. He was never credited for producing the film because up to that point he had been known for comedies like Blazing Saddles and the like. And when people saw his name on there, he was thinking to himself, well, people are think this is going to be a farce. And one thing that I did find that was fascinating was that originally the Elephant Man was supposed to be played by Dustin Hoffman, who was relatively popular at the time. However, the role ended up going to John Hurt through a bit of a convenient set of circumstances. Hurt was making a movie called Heaven's Gate, which is an infamous film flop, but the movie was taking so long to film that John Hurt was like, I think I've got the time to go shoot this Elephant Man thing. And he had enough time in the interim between Heaven's Gate to shoot that and come back and still do Heaven's Gate. Though John Hurt reportedly said that this film made him almost hate acting because of having to wear that amount of makeup for several hours a day. I kind of get that. But like I said, this is my favorite of Lynch's films up to now. It's a film that really is disturbing, but like disturbing in a human way, I guess you can say. There is a general sense of Frederick Treves trying to give some humanity to John Merrick, something that Merrick has never had. The movie does a good job of showing that John Merrick has just had a terrible life. Like, even when he was born, like, it was just not conventional in the slightest. And he has been a part of this freak show where he has not been given any respect whatsoever. And there are just some scenes where it just feels cold and clinical. Like the scene where Merrick is being viewed by these doctors. Is like, as you can see, the elephant, this man referred to as the Elephant Man, has this structure. And you're just sitting there like, this is a college lecture about a human being. This does not feel right at all. But through it all, John Merrick never really snaps until the one famous scene, which I'll get to in a second. John Merrick treats everyone with respect. Like, even when he is being like even when he's being treated like dirt, he's still just he he pretty much just faces it and treats everyone with a decent level of humanity, something that he himself has never returned. One of my favorite scenes in the movie, other than the famous one, is when he is tasked with reciting a psalm from the Bible, specifically Psalm 23. And initially he stumbles, but then he recites the whole thing, and he knows the psalm because that's his favorite. So John Merrick has some pretty good taste in Bible verses. I can respect that. There's also some tear-jerking stuff in here too. Like the scene where he's having tea with Frederick Treves and his wife, and he shows them a picture of his mother, something he almost never does, and he says, I feel like I would have been a disappointment to her, which just it's just crushing to hear, but he's just he's just felt that way his whole life, and you just feel so bad for him. Like John Hurt was just an incredible actor. I think we all can agree. Of course, if you're watching this video and you have seen the movie, you know the most famous scene, the I am not an animal scene clip here.
I am not an animal!
This scene is overplayed, but kind of similar to Motorhead's Ace of Spades or Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Sometimes stuff is overplayed for a reason. And this scene just is still brutal to watch, even though I've seen it a bunch of times. This is getting an amazing grade from me. It is at times a difficult movie to watch because of the nature of what's going on here. There are some scenes that are very tricky to watch even now, but that does not mean that the movie's of bad quality. Quite the opposite. If the effect is just to make it feel really, really sad for John Merrick, then the movie succeeds. And David Lynch really did a great job here. He just did a great job directing. Freddie Francis of Hammer horror film fame did a great job in the cinematography department. This is like people will talk about like Mulholland Drive and Eraserhead as some of Lynch's best work, and I can definitely understand why, but I would love to throw the Elephant Man in that conversation because even though it's his most successful film critically, it almost won Best Picture, losing to Ordinary People. I still feel like I think it would have given Ordinary People a run for its money, but that was just during a time where horror or something horror adjacent was just not respected as much. But I passed off to all of you. What did you think of The Elephant Man if you've seen it? What's your favorite scene in the movie? I want to know. Let me know in the comments. I would love to read what you have to say. And next time up, I'm going to be taking a look at a film that I have no knowledge of whatsoever. I haven't even seen a trailer for it yet. It's David Lynch's Wild at Heart.